My name is Laura. I'm 34 years old, a single mom, and it took me far too long to understand that in my family was never about love. It was about control. Christmas Eve was supposed to be loud and warm and predictable. The kind of night where you count down minutes until you can finally leave. My parents' living room smelled like cinnamon and overcooked sugar, and every surface was covered in decorations meant to signal perfection. My son, Noah, hovered near the dessert table in his little sweater, cheeks flushed from running around with his cousins. He kept glancing at the pudding like it was a prize he didn't quite believe he was allowed to want. Then my mother picked up the last slice. She didn't rush. She didn't hesitate. She held it up, looked straight at my son and smiled. "Only family gets dessert," she said brightly, loud enough for the room to hear. She laughed. My sister's kids already had full plates. Someone chuckled. Conversations resumed instantly, like nothing had happened. Noah swallowed hard, forced a polite smile, and whispered to me that he wasn't hungry anyway. I saw the way his eyes glossed over. Kids are experts at hiding hurt when they realize no one plans to fix it. That was the moment something in me clicked into place. I didn't yell. I didn't knock anything over. I didn't ask her to take it back. I walked over, bent down, and told Noah to grab his coat. My mom called after us, confused and annoyed, asking where we thought we were going. I told her calmly that we already had everything we needed at home. Then I closed the door on the sound of laughter and the smell of dessert. I honestly believed that would be the worst part of the night. I was wrong. The next morning I woke up to my phone lighting up like it was on fire. Missed calls stacked on top of each other. Voicemails marked urgent. Panic bleeding through every notification. When I finally listened, my mother's voice wasn't apologetic. It was frantic. She talked about lawyers, about paperwork being frozen, about how I needed to call her back immediately. She didn't mention Noah. She didn't mention what she said. She didn't mention Christmas. She mentioned money. And standing there in my kitchen barefoot on cold tile, I realized something that made my chest go tight and calm at the same time. That slice of dessert wasn't the insult. It was the warning. Because when my child stopped being useful to their idea of family, so did I. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. If this already has you hooked, give it a like, it really helps the channel. And comment below if you've ever seen the word family used as a weapon. I didn't call my mother back right away. I made Noah breakfast instead. Toast cut into squares. Apples sliced thin the way he liked them. He sat at the table quietly, swinging his legs, not asking about dessert, not mentioning Christmas. That hurt more than anything she'd said. When he finally asked if he could go play in his room, I nodded and waited until his door closed before picking up my phone. I called my mother once. She answered immediately, voice sharp with relief that turned into irritation the second she realized I wasn't panicking. "Thank God," she said. "I was starting to think you were ignoring me." "I am," I replied. "Why are you talking about lawyers?" There was a pause. Papers rustled on the other end, like she was gathering confidence. "That account you control," she said carefully. "The one your father set up years ago. It's frozen. I can't access anything." Now it made sense. The joint savings account. The one I'd been listed on as a backup when my parents insisted it was just for emergencies. The same account they dipped into repeatedly since my divorce, rent gaps, credit card balances, temporary loans that never got repaid. "I froze it," I said. Silence. Then her tone shifted, sharpened by disbelief. "You had no right." I leaned against the counter and closed my eyes. "You told my son he wasn't family," I said. "So I stopped funding yours." She gasped like I'd slapped her. "That was a joke," she snapped. "You're twisting it." "No," I said. "I heard you. He heard you." And I watched him decide not to ask for dessert anymore. Her voice rose. "You're punishing everyone over one sentence." I laughed quietly because that was the lie she always told herself. "This isn't about one sentence," I said. "This is about years of using me as a safety net while reminding me I never fully belonged." She started crying then, but it wasn't remorse. It was panic. She talked about bills, about commitments, about how my sister counted on that money. She said I was destabilizing the family right before the holidays. Still nothing about Noah. Still nothing about Christmas Eve. I realized then what the real betrayal was. It wasn't the dessert. It wasn't the comment. It was how easily my child had been excluded, and how quickly she'd moved on to protecting access to money instead of repairing the damage she'd caused. "I need you to unfreeze it," she said finally. "Today." "No," I replied. "I need you to understand that my son is not optional." Her voice turned cold. "If you don't fix this," she said, "don't expect things to go well for you." There it was. The threat beneath the concern. I ended the call without another word and sat there, phone still in my hand, feeling something heavy lift off my chest. Because for the first time I wasn't reacting. I was choosing. I spent the afternoon pulling documents, emails, old messages, bank statements, patterns I'd ignored because confronting them felt scarier than tolerating them. By the time Noah came back into the kitchen asking what was for lunch, I had a folder on my laptop labeled simply, "Boundaries." That was the turning point. Not the insult. Not the argument. The moment I stopped hoping she'd change and started protecting my child instead. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. If this chapter hit close to home, give it a like, it really helps the channel. And comment below what you would have done after that phone call. The fallout didn't come all at once. It arrived in waves. First, the silence. My mother didn't call for 2 days after I froze the account. That alone told me how serious it was. She was the kind of person who filled quiet with control. When she went silent, it meant she was regrouping. Then came the messages. Not apologies. Not questions about Noah. Warnings. My sister texted first. She said Mom was beside herself. That I was being dramatic. That I was tearing the family apart over something that wasn't meant that way. I asked her one question. Did Mom tell Noah he wasn't family? She didn't answer. My dad called that night. His voice was low and careful, the way it always was when he wanted peace without choosing sides. "You know your mother didn't mean it," he said. "You're overcorrecting." I looked at Noah on the couch beside me, lining up toy cars in perfect rows, humming softly to himself. "She meant it enough to say it," I replied. "And to laugh." He sighed. "You're putting us in a difficult position." I said the words I'd never said before. "I'm done being the easy one." That conversation ended quickly. The next week my mother finally showed up at my door. No warning. No call. She stood on the porch wrapped in her expensive coat, eyes sharp, mouth already set in disappointment. "You've embarrassed me," she said before I could speak. "People are asking questions." I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. "You embarrassed yourself," I said calmly. "I just stopped covering it up." She scoffed. "So this is about money now?" "No," I said. "This is about my son." She waved her hand dismissively. "He's too sensitive. You're raising him that way." Something inside me went very still. "You don't get to speak about him anymore," I said. "Not like that." Her face hardened. "If you don't release those funds," she said, "you'll regret it." I smiled, not cruelly, not triumphantly. Just clearly. "I already talked to a lawyer," I said. "Everything's documented. And the account stays frozen." She stared at me, realizing for the first time that this wasn't a tantrum. This was final. She left without another word. After that, things changed fast. The money dried up. The complaints started. Stories about me being ungrateful circulated quietly through relatives. But something unexpected happened too. People stopped inviting my mother to host. My sister stopped calling as often. The family dynamic shifted now that the backup was gone. And me? My life got calmer. Noah stopped asking why Grandma didn't smile at him. I slept better. I stopped rehearsing conversations in my head. On Christmas morning, Noah and I stayed home. No fancy desserts. No performative traditions. Just pancakes, mismatched socks, and wrapping paper everywhere. He laughed freely. Loudly. Without checking anyone's face to see if it was allowed. That was my victory. Weeks later, my dad sent a short message. "She's still angry. But maybe things went too far." I didn't reply. Because the truth was simple. I didn't need them to understand. I needed them to stop. I used to think revenge meant confrontation. I was wrong. Revenge was choosing my child over comfort. Revenge was closing access without apology. Revenge was building a life where love wasn't conditional. That slice of dessert was meant to remind us of our place. Instead, it showed me exactly where I belonged. And for the first time, I didn't ask permission to stay there. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. If this story stayed with you, give it a like, it really helps the channel. And comment below. Would you have frozen the account? Or walked away completely? You're allowed to protect what matters most.